What's up guys, Lvladen here, and today I'm coming at you with a video talking about the exciting RET buffs that we are getting. I guess this is the, the third time in 4 weeks that we've gotten buffed since the beginning of this patch, and hopefully these buffs actually are the difference maker to jump RET up a tier. So right now, I actually think RET is in an okay spot, but primarily because of other classes that RET currently plays with, such as Restitute and Fury Warrior. Outside of that, I don't think there's many comps that RET can really succeed with in 3v3 at the moment. But that's also because the meta is not a super RET-friendly meta at the moment. But things might be changing on Tuesday. So, coming this upcoming Tuesday here, we have 3 buffs coming to Red Paladin, specifically for Herald of the Sun. And the first is that Gleaming Rays is now going from a 5% damage increase when there's an active Dawn Light to a 15% overall increase. Fantastic. Final Verdict's going to hit a tiny bit harder. Works out, synergizes well with our set bonus, and that's awesome. The next 2 changes are actually where the actual meat of the buffs are, and that is a 50% increase to Sun's avatar damage and a 40% increase to Dawn Light damage. Now, I did 2 testing scenarios to see what this might actually look like in a PvP scenario. So, a couple things to consider. Whatever I'm going to talk about right here is subject to change on Tuesday because these are not actual testing buffs, but I'll go over the scenarios that I did briefly. So I did two tests here. The first was running the Avenging Wrath and Divine Wrath build here with a 1-minute wings and on-use trinket. And the second one was with the Radiant Glory build, and I did the same. I tried my best to get the same testing window, about 30 seconds, with at least 1 proc of Radiant Glory, so I could match up the talent's powers as closely as we could. And I actually got a couple of decent tests in to see how the buffs might work. All right, so the first one I'm going to go over is the overall total for the 1-minute wings build. And again, that's with Avenging Wrath and Divine Wrath. And actually, I did switch up one thing. I played Rush of Light and Righteous Cause for this build here. Now, with this build, we did about 16,230,000 damage of Final Verdicts. We did 6,800,000 damage of Sun's Avatar. And we did 4.5 million damage worth of Dawn Lights in that same window here. So I mathed out the rough totals of how much of a buff that each of these abilities are going to get. So in my 16 million damage worth of Final Verdicts here, we're going to get a 1,600,000 increase on Final Verdict. So that's roughly the equivalent of 2 Final Verdicts that aren't really amped up with a lot of damage, or about 1.5% of an amped up Blessing of Dawn empowered, Greater Judgment empowered Final Verdict. So pretty small overall change. That would bring the new overall in this particular build to just under 18 million, which it's a nice buff, but again, it's not going to be super noticeable. The noticeable buffs come in the form of Sun's Avatar. Now, Sun's Avatar is going to be a fairly large increase here. So we did with the 1-minute wings build, so that's about, I believe that's 23 seconds of uptime here. 23 seconds with Divine Wrath and Avenging Wrath Crusade. Our Sun's Avatar is going to jump from 6,800,000 to 10.2 million overall. That is a large increase, and that is also only single target because Sun's Avatar is a cleave ability as well. So it has the potential to go up even more. Minus mitigating factors that we'll talk about later. That is a huge damage increase on Sun's Avatar. Dawn Light here did 4.5 million overall of our previous dam and is going to go up 40%. So that is a 1.8 million increase to a new total of basically 6.3 million overall. Now that is also the equivalent of basically an extra Dawn Light. Like 1 Dawn Light does roughly 1 to 2 million damage depending on what rolling factors you have in play. So we'll say this is about the increase of 1 overall Dawn Light, which is no small number. Seems great, honestly. So we're going to take a look at the total increase overall of 6.8 million. So we're in the same burst window that we do on the PvP dummy right now. And keep in mind, PvP dummy does not have passive mitigating factors or line of sight or whatever. We're going to do roughly the same as about half of someone's HP bar in that same 23-second window. And an average HP bar is about 11 to 12 million. Now, this is no small number, but at the same time, you have to take into consider the fact that this is over time now. This is over a period of 23 seconds. So I don't think it's going to feel as bursty as previous RET damage has in the past, because it's spread out over a much longer period of time. But also doing just over half of someone's HP in damage more than we are currently doing in the same time frame, I feel like it's going to be noticeable. Now this turns out to be roughly an 11% damage increase overall on a PvP dummy, or I guess a dummy in general, because PvE is going to get the exact same changes here. But that's only in the burst windows. So if this is not an 11% overall buff, I want to make that clear. We are not gaining 11% overall damage. This is just the damage in our burst window for Herald in the 1 Minute Wings build is going up roughly 11% against unmitigated targets. Now, I did the same testing window, about 30 seconds of damage with 1 proc Radiant Glory right here, for 52.3 million. So 52,330,000. In that damage breakdown here, our final verdicts did about 17.5 million. Our Sun's Avatar did significantly less here. It did 4,150,000. And our Dawn Light did 6,380,000. So Dawn Lights did more, Sun's Avatars did less. It's kind of funny how each build is roughly the same, but kind of flipped. With each build here, our total final verdict damage is going to be going up about the same. Like plus 100k, 120k, like that's not that much increase overall. So I mean, 10% is 10%, that's great, for a new total of about 19 million, just over 19 million. Our Sun's Avatar is going to go up 2 million to a new total of 6.2 million, and our Dawn Lights are going to go up 2.5 million to a new total of just under 9 million. So the total increase with 1 proc Radiant Glory right here is 6,375,000, roughly the same as we're getting with the other build. Slightly less, but obviously this is only in a 30-second window. So in that next 30 seconds of uptime with Radiant Glory, we are most likely going to have, at least 1 proc. So this build is probably going to be a little bit better in live practice, but on the dummy, it's looking like it's a little bit less overall. So our new total after the increase factored in is 58,705,000. That's nice. That is a nice chunky total as well, for roughly about an 11% damage increase overall. So math is mathing. That's nice. Obviously, if I did any math, please correct me in the bottom, but in the comments below. But I think for the most part, we can use these numbers as rough estimates. Now we have to consider a couple variables here. So people have versatility, right? I think most people, it's safe to say, are running about 30% versatility. So that's about a 15% mitigation factor on the damage reduction. A lot of classes have like 2 to 3% decrease in damage taken passives. They have passive healing, passive damage procs, lots of mitigating factors. And there's such thing as, people canceling out your Dawn Lights. You can always get a Diamond Ice on the Dawn Light. You can get a line of sight on the Sun's Avatar. You can get distance or pointed or blinked on the Sun's Avatar. So these damage increases, that 11% is most likely going to fall to something in the 5 to 8% range overall. But that is still a pretty significant buff to our burst windows, 5 to 8% overall. RET right now, I don't think it's being built. It's quite obviously not being built to be a burst machine at the moment. And with these changes, this is going to really be the nail in the coffin for Templar, because Herald's already the more commonly played specialization. And I actually really do enjoy both. I think both are very fun and engaging. The main difference between the two right now is the tuning on Templar. Hammer of Light just doesn't do expected damage at the moment, or maybe it does do expected damage, but that expected damage is actually pretty low when compared with a Final Verdict. So I think that this build is 100% going to be the PvP play here, going Herald the Sun, one of these two builds, rather. I think both are going to end up being pretty viable, but I do think the Radiant Glory build is going to have to be significantly tested, because it looks like in practice, Radiant Glory is still going to be better. But if you're playing comps that have a good amount of setup bursts, I mean, doing 10 million damage in Sun's Avatar is kind of insane if you're playing the 1 minute wings build. All right, I've ranted for long enough here. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the changes to the builds here. I do think that RET is going to have a place in the meta. I don't think it's going to be outside of the comps that we currently play, such as RET Warrior and RET Hunter. I do think there's a chance that RET Demo ends up being pretty decent. But overall, I think these are the healthiest changes RET can get in terms of buffing the damage without making people mass reroll to the specialization, or also, you know, get surprise one-shot by a big Hammer of Light or Final Verdict combo. I think the sweet spot for RET strength should probably be somewhere around like Shadowlands level RET Paladin. Obviously, tail end of Season 1, Season 2 of Dragonflight was pretty oppressive. Like, that was the RET apocalypse. And that's the main reason that no one wants RET to be good, because that's still fresh in people's memory. And I also want to point out the fact that the RET apocalypse was 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, RET received the same PvP tuning changes that it had for the remainder of Dragonflight in the first season of The War Within. So essentially, like, nothing changed between those time frames. So this patch here is really the first time that we've seen significant RET PvP buffs since the end of Season 1 of the War of Dragonflight, actually. All right. That's about it for me. Enough ranting here. Let me know in the comments again what you guys think about the buffs. Are you disappointed? Are you happy? I'm personally very happy. I think this is as safe as we can get for buffing RET Paladin, and hopefully we see some more in the meta. All right, see you all next time. Peace.